tell me now, I've never missed a day's work in 25 years, you know, no sick note taken, performed at a very high level and ultra marathons and lectured over 12,000 medical professionals. And I'm not saying this to boast, but I've got a problem with Candace. I think of Candace often in the morning. There's not many days. I actually can't count in the last, I don't know how many years that I haven't missed Candace in the morning. So, and Carly's a pretty, on Friday nights, and then definitely Chelsea from a dark chocolate perspective. And I've condoned it in that it's dark chocolate and it's 85% Lindt or 78% Lindt, but I'd go above and beyond to make sure that it's there. I go above and beyond to make sure, that my coffee is there. So let's take a scenario now where you would start with someone like myself who's physically, mentally, emotionally, I think, and spiritually on a good journey, and obviously always growing and always developing. But let's start with your process, Gillian.
Well, so refresh my memory. So the coffee is Candace, yeah?
Coffee is Candace, yeah, and then Chelsea's the chocolate, the dark
Chelsea.
chocolate, and I can tell you it's 78% and it's 85%. And
Sure.
then if I'm having a tough time, then I'm going to go to like, I like Lindt, and then I'm going to have the sea salt, and I'm going to have the mint, and I'll let go. And then on a Sunday, sometimes I'll let go if I'm having a tough time. So food as a Greek person growing up has been a big, big deal. And our folks just loved us with food. And when we were depressed, we had food. So there is that connection, but I seem to be pretty functional. So, but I don't want to be sort of enslaved to that. Just sort of, how would you
That's
do
what I
this?
was
Would you
going
do
to ask.
functional medicine tests? Would you look within? Would you break the habit? Let's go through a sort of process.
Yeah, I love this. So, I mean, my process always begins with an intake conversation, really. And it's just like, tell me what your relationship with food has looked like.
Mm,
Tell me kind of what I'm really looking for. Number one is, it's kind of hilarious how I say it, but I'm looking for a hunger for liberation from these patterns. I'm looking for someone who is willing to look at things that may be challenging, and also willing to kind of feel the things that maybe they have historically suppressed because they're challenging and uncomfortable. And so, my work, the name of my practice is the root cause method, because we are really digging in the roots. And that's why I incorporate the use of psychedelics into my work, because it is in the subconscious realm in which we venture. And so I'm looking for a willingness and a desire to really free themselves from this pattern. And so in that intake, I would ask things like, chocolate isn't inherently bad. Nothing is really inherently bad, of course. And so do you feel a loss of control around this food is what I would really want to know.
mm. Yeah, look, I think what it does is it sort of, I get the sense of like contentment. Not that I'm a discontented person, I've done over like 140,000, sessions and treatments, but there's just something that feels good. It gives me a feel good kick, knowing that I
Sure.
can have that after dinner, that dark chocolate, then condoning the fact that it's not got too much sugar and it's okay. And, I'm in
Yeah.
health and I'm in wellness, and I'm not Carly, the chips. I can destroy the whole big bag on a Friday just because I can just say, I've worked so hard. I've seen so many patients, clients, and we're doing this corporate work. But so that's like my treat now. So my treat that I look forward to is like this big bag of chips or crisps. So yeah, I don't know. I
Yeah.
just
So
feel good afterwards.
that would be, this is interesting. So, you know, food is a particular substance that I find so fascinating, because if this was like, alcohol, and there was a sense of out of control, or it's, destructive by its very nature,
Mm,
it can be, aside from like a beautiful glass of wine and, once in a while, like food is an interesting substance because we can't omit it. We
yeah.
must learn to dance with it, and therefore we must learn to find balance with it. And so my perspective is such that I don't believe in rigidity. I don't put people on strict diets or meal plans. No, and I also don't subscribe to like just figure out how to eat intuitively, because when you have a dysfunctional relationship, you don't have access to intuition around food. You maybe not don't have access to hunger and fullness cues, and physiological like signaling from the body. And so it really takes like a level of embodiment to deeply feel, okay, how is this do I have a healthy relationship with this right now? I also have dark chocolate every day of my life. It is exactly as you described, 78, 80%, 85% when I'm in the mood, with some sea salt, fair trade, delicious, nothing, you know, like it's a beautiful thing. And it brings joy to my soul. Like I just have this, but reverence with it, and I savor it, and I take my time with it, and I'm
Mm.
not mindlessly eating it. I'm not, downing it in like two bites and two gulps or whatever. Like I have a relationship with it,
Mm, yeah.
and and that for me feels beautiful, because one of the things, we're not just souls. We're not just this like, beautiful like kind of consciousness. We're embodied. And when we're embodied, meaning we have access to senses. And one of the beautiful things about a human experience is that we get to engage from a sensation standpoint with our environment. And so to savor the chocolate and to have a pleasurable experience with it is beautiful. Now, if you're inhaling the chocolate bar and once you're done with that, you go for the second one and you feel this loss of control, and maybe you eat to the point of discomfort, and maybe you enter into a cycle of like shame or loathing, self-deprecation after said chocolate, then yeah, I would want to unpack that, because
Mm.
that to me implies that there's an emotional charge around this food that is disempowering and dissociating, and really is the doorway for a lot of freedom and liberation. It's like, what are you really being called for? There's an opportunity of reconnection to the self. There's an opportunity to find ways to soothe yourself in ways that deeply empower you and reconnect you to yourself. One of the things I really believe is that when we are stuffing down things with food, what we're stuffing is our truth, the truth in the moment of how we feel. We're stuffing down maybe elements of our story, like I'm not allowed to feel this. We're stuffing down our power. When human beings are not in their body because of dissociation, we don't have access to intuition. We don't have access to the absolutely incredible amounts of ancient wisdom that is stored in the human body. We lose access. And so that's why I'm so charged up about this work. Is like, yes, I want to help people prevent chronic illness and go into remission from illness and live in their most amazing optimized bodies. But it's really because on a spiritual level, we need to be in our bodies, because that's how we're able to be in our hearts. That's how we're
Mm.
able to have empathy and compassion and love and support for each other, ourselves, also this planet. Like if we're disembodied and we're numb, we don't care if the thing burns down. We're just disconnected from ourselves and everything else. So it's like, who cares if I'm rude to my neighbor? Like, and that's not the world I desire to live in. I would just believe there's something else that's possible. And so yeah, my doorway is food, but I'm really here for a lot more.
Brilliant, brilliant. So you're talking more about mindful eating. If I had to just look at it and say, okay, my chocolate tonight, do it slow, savor the moment, enjoy it without sort of stuffing it and trying to suppress something
Yeah.
or trying to
Yeah.
cover something. Is that what you're saying? Because I always think having this dark chocolate, and even though it's got sugar in and having it every day, it's not a good thing. So I need to be able to say no quite easily, but possibly it's being more mindful when I am having it.
I like the concept of mindful eating, yes, but what I really, really love is like embodied eating. You're in your body. You are having a sensory experience with what's happening externally with this chocolate, but also mostly what's happening internally. I often lead these practices in either retreat settings or one-on-one with my clients, of like really slowing down when we're experiencing food to see like what's just beneath the surface in terms of like automatic tendencies. What are the racing thoughts that are like, I need more, I need more? What is happening energetically in the body? Are you noticing like, this kind of compulsive energy in your system, or this contraction in your throat or your chest, and this like impulse for more? And or what's going on energetically, physiologically, somatically? It's really like bringing people into the somatic experience while they're eating. And just underneath the surface of the automatic patterns is so much data. It's so much insight of like your personal experience, your personal patterns, nuances of like how you engage with food, that is it's just reveals so much. And so we explore that and we trace it back to like, what was that like for you? When did this pattern come online? Right. And maybe within that space, you get to give yourself permission of like, yeah, you know what, this how I engage with, I forgot, Kali chocolate, right? Or
Yeah,
candy.
no, Chelsea's the chocolate, Carly is
Oh,
the chip.
Kelsey. How you engage with Chelsea, like, may actually be a healthy dynamic. It may actually serve you, and you get to give yourself the permission to like really enjoy that, and that gets to be okay. And then maybe Kali, you notice that there is an emotional charge and maybe kind of a dysfunctional relationship where you can't just have a few, but you feel this compulsive, she yells at you from the pantry, and you feel like you have no choice, and you find yourself entering into a space of disempowerment and self-loathing after you've completed the bag. So it's like, let's unpack that. What are you not wanting to feel? Or what are you trying to feel? Right? You just worked all week and you want to give yourself a treat. What is another way that you could treat yourself that after the event you feel empowered, you feel more embodied, you feel like you've done something good for yourself instead of something depleting and kind of disempowering.
Wow.